everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Seth. In today's video we're going to be breaking down Euphoria Season 3 Episode 6. Now I am going to be talking about last night's episode, so if you don't want to know anything about it, or you don't want to hear any spoilers, this is your warning. But if you don't care, by all means stick around for the rest of this video and let's talk about it. Now this episode starts off of getting to know a little bit about Alamo's childhood and what it was all like. I think it was probably set in the 1960s to maybe 1970s. I mean, just the aesthetic alone. If I was wrong, sorry. But we really get to see that Alamo really as a kid was just a normal person, but I guess had some different environment that he grew up in. His mother was talking to this one guy who was about to get some good money coming in from an accident at his workplace, and really just his mother would cozy up to that person, and then when it was time and she did this, she would leave the person and go back to just a different lifestyle or normal lifestyle for her. Really not specified, I guess, that much towards the end of that little showing of his childhood, but we do get to see that Alamo really did like this one person. The guy really treated him as a father figure in a sense, really caring for Alamo, you know, getting to know about his life, trying to make better life decisions for him, you know, getting him nicer clothes, hot meals, even trying to get him into a better schooling. But then of course at the end, you know, Alamo and his mom leave, but Alamo was not that happy about it, and he even said towards the end of that, he goes, in that moment, Alamo made a promise that he would never get outsmarted by a woman right like that. So then we get into, after that, we get into the little climax they showed at the end of the last episode, episode 5, of Rue die? Which, no, Rue was not dying. And I knew she was not dying. I knew that was just a ploy to get people to come see the next episode, because if you're going to try to do that, that's a little too short of the season to do that. If you're gonna kill off Rue, I think it's gotta be the last episode, but that's just my personal opinion. But before, you know, Alamo's about to try to make her be like, oh, we're gonna kill Rue, Rue's like, I can get you anything you want, this and stuff like that. So Alamo's talk. So Rue goes on the phone with Faye, and Faye's like, hey, can you please just help me out and stuff like that? Can you please get the key to the safe and stuff like that? And Faye's like, I don't know. Rue keeps talking, stuff like that. And Faye's like, I don't know. But then Rue says, hey, Fezco is in jail, and Fezco really helped you out when no one else was helping you out. Can you help me out to help him out, basically? So Faye does take a picture of that safe key, so Alamo knows a guy who can 3D print it, and then of course, you know, later on for what the season will be having with that. But then after that, we get to see the tensions of Elizabeth and Alamo come really to where they're face to face now. Elizabeth is coming to Alamo's house to really talk and stuff like that. And, you know, it's looking like, you know, a little bit like Elizabeth, had Alamo, because she's like, well, I could just write you guys off to the FBI. I want to do one more run. You know, I want to get 80 kilos of a product because the border is shutting down and stuff. And Alamo's like, well, I guess we have a deal then. You know, they're talking and they're like, well, we want Rue. And Alamo's like, no, I'll get my people, you get your people, we'll come together when we do this. And then at the last moment, you know, they shake on it, you know, Alamo and Elizabeth, and Alamo brings Elizabeth close in and says, if you try to do something like that, I will hurt you, and something like that into a sense. And you really get to see after that moment, Elizabeth was scared of that threat, because I don't think she's ever been really that threatened before, and you could just see in her face, she's like, whoa, you know. And then after that, and more in the episode of seeing Rue, it's just more in this episode is getting closer to her relationship with God, and just really wanting something more of her life, and just trying to figure out, what can I do to make my life not this way anymore and make it more fulfilling? So she tries to go to Jules' place and talks about, hey, you know, I'm really just maybe thinking I want kids and I'm wanting just something more in my life. And Jules is like, you want kids? You're not ready for kids. And Rue goes, was anybody really ever ready for kids? And Jules is just not having it. She's like, you want kids with me? Well, kind of, yeah, you know? And Jules is like, no, I don't know about that, no, you know? And Rue says something that really did get under Jules' skin. Rue said, well, all you are is just, you sit here at this guy's house, you do your paintings, and you watch your TV shows, and then when he comes, you know, he has a little fun time with you, and that's really it? Well, Jules did not like that, because Jules slapped Rue, and then Jules' painting fell on her. And Jules was like, he's gonna be here in 45 minutes. I suggest you leave. And you can really see that really made Rue sad, because she really, I guess, was opening up and feeling happy for one moment, which she never really feels in this series. But then after that, in the episode, Rue does go to her church, and her mom gives her a call. And they have a little moment, and she's all like, I'm sorry, Mom, for whatever I've done. I'm really just wanting more in my life, and I will be home soon, and stuff like that. So, in my speculation, and I could be totally wrong in my speculation, will Rue not be dying, maybe? Will Rue, at the end, maybe just go back to living, or trying to live a normal life with her mother? I don't know, and I'm just getting speculation on that. Because in the beginning, I thought, oh, Rue is dying. Now I'm having a little bit of a feeling that Rue might be living, so who knows? And then at the end, for Rue, she, you know, is driving and stuff like that, and her car, you know, breaks down and stuff like that, and then a tree just lights on fire and stuff like that. And for her, that's just like, oh my god, that was God's message of showing he's real to me. She's just having this, just like, emotional, like, coming to Christ moment, you know? Okay, now that's what happened for Rue in this episode. We're gonna get now into what happened to Maddie and Cassie's story. Now, Cassie is getting to live out more of her dream as she's getting to be in that episode and getting to show off, you know, I guess what she's always wanted to be and her talents for acting. So she does her little scene, and in that scene, I think she kind of mistakes it and does really bad because she doesn't follow the script. She goes off the script, but the emotion she gave off when she went under, you know, unscripted, the producers just love that. And you could see in Lexi's face, she's like, crap, you know, because the producers are actually kind of liking that. And so they talk and stuff like that, and the producers and writers are like, so that wasn't part of the script. How long have you been acting? And Cassie goes, I've been acting all my life. And you can see that moment because Lexi's right next to her. Lexi is trying to minimize what Cassie's saying. Because, you know, the girl goes, so what do you do? And Cassie goes, I make content. And Lexi goes, on the spicy website, you know, the accountant website, if you catch my drift. What do you do on there? Oh, I just do, very provocative things. No, she full on does, you know, very erotic things. And, well, the writers and producers are going to maybe get her more onto shows and become one of her characters in this. And Lexi's like, you gotta be kidding me! But as we see later on in this, Lexi is now going to write some of those scenes for Cassie. And Lexi's like, what do I do? Do I kill her off or do I just keep her going? So she will have to battle for that now, more in the episodes. But then, Cassie has to say this. To be able to be on the show, she has to get rid of her spicy accountant website. So, at that moment, at the next scene, she's touring with, she's like, and then she pushes, okay, delete it, you know. So, that. But we'll probably get to know more of that when the episodes come out, of what will entail why she wanted to quit that website. For Maddie, we get to see more of her and Alamo get into a working relationship, you know. Maddie is trying to really digitize and get a bigger brand, while Alamo is like, hey, you know, keep it to where we're at, let's just get more of the money. But Maddie's like, I want to get more of us global, more known. She even says, why don't we let the workers have a day off so I can introduce him to some other people and get to start branding. Alamo doesn't like that because, why are you taking away my women? In this agreement, we never said you'd take my women. And you can really see in that moment that Maddie's like, oh, well, I can still hold my own, but oh wow, this is a side I'm not seeing of this person. Because Rue in this episode even tried to warn Maddie. He's like, hey, this guy is not good. And Maddie's all like, I can handle my own, I'm a big girl. And Maddie even says, well, why are you working for him and if he's such a bad person, you know? We also get to see, too, in this episode, very little of Nate. Nate is now killing off those flowers that were harming his business and stuff like that, and he's having a full-on meltdown, saying some very hateful things to the flowers, you know, and stuff. But then one of Nas's bodyguards just takes a smoke break and goes back at it to beating him up, and I'm like, okay, so this season for Nate is, you know, very good to see him get his punishment for what he did in the previous season, but at the same time, story-wise, it's a very, very minimalistic, you know. And that's really what all happened. Happened into, you know, this episode with their little plot lines for the characters and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my breakdown of the episode. Thank you for watching as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and goodbye!